Welcome to week one's yoga video or movement session in this week that has the theme called Sanctuary. So this is the first week in our 5-week program, and this week all that we're really looking to cultivate is how to find an easy way back into our own sanctuary. So for me, sanctuary is very much the feeling of being in deep connective reverence with your breath. And when you get this deep connection with breath, where the body softens and the breath really carries you moment to moment, we find this connection with the deeper layers of our being, where we can connect with the emotions that underlie our mental energy. We can connect with our perspective on how we see the world as well as ourselves. So in this space, we're not necessarily looking to actively go in and change things and do massive internal kind of energetic surgery. But this week, we're simply looking for a way into this space. And what we hope to find in that connection is rest. There's this feeling that you are no longer disconnected. There is this feeling that you are safe and that you can really just take a time out. By doing this, we're hoping to begin that reset that needs to happen in the nervous system, in the heart coherence. And instead of kind of staying in that space where we're often getting to bed at night and we're still not feeling completely ourselves, we haven't been able to put the day down. With this class, together with the yoga nidra and the breathing practices, it's to create this space of, I've arrived home to myself, I've arrived home to my heart and the sanctuary of my breath. And by doing that, like every day for a week, we change how we connect internally. So this session you're also welcome to use throughout the 5 weeks whenever you need rest. In week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, the movement sessions change a little bit so that we also create the ability to expand our energy and to build our capacity for holding energy. But in this first week's practice, there's the sense of coming home. And if at any point during the journey you feel like that's what you need, then you just come back to this first class. Even though we're in a different week, you just come back to find this connection right here. Good. We're going to get started. And what you will need for this session is to have access to a wall somewhere, but not starting against the wall. You still want some space to move. And maybe a folded blanket to go over your mat, just to keep the knees nicely padded. And then if you don't have a yoga bolster, just a pillow of similar size that's quite firm to help support the body weight as we take some of the more restorative poses. This session in general is aimed at being restorative for the body. So it's not necessarily deep stretch, but the aim is rest. All right, so let's get started. Blanket, wall, bolster, maybe some blocks. And then just bring yourself to a comfortable standing position where the feet are a little bit wider than the hips. And just allow yourself to shift your weight from left to right. Gently moving through the outer hips, feeling that area release a little. And then allowing the hips to circle, so the knees bend and the hips circle. And you'll see as the hips circle, the ankles circle as well. And what we're trying to do here is find gentle movement that connects us to our sense of grounding and earthing. And there's the feeling that all 10 the toes are really rooting down. Change direction of your circles if you haven't done so yet. And just finding a gentle loosening up. So maybe the upper body and the shoulders go with. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Almost allow yourself to feel off balance. And then slowly come back to top. We'll find ourselves feet a little bit closer this time. Knees nice and soft. A little bit of bounciness there, so the spine feels springy. And then on the inhalation, lift through your chin and your chest. And then as you exhale, buttocks stick up, head rolls down, and neck shakes loose. On the next inhalation, roll yourself back up. If you like, you can reach your arms overhead or grab your elbows as you reach your chest open. Deep breath in, and then again exhale, roll yourself down. 2 more. Inhale, heart open, arms reaching overhead, grabbing the elbows. And exhale, roll it down. Last one, inhale, reaching open. And exhale, roll it down. Keeping the feet grounded, allow yourself to gently rock the hips from left to right. This will stretch a little bit through the backs of the legs, but also allow a bit of a softening in the neck and the lower back. And then from here, we'll move into our first restorative pose. So dropping the knees, flattening the tops of the feet onto the ground. And then grabbing your pillow or bolster, placing it in between the knees. And then slowly bringing your chest down onto the pillow. So by bringing the chest down, you allow the weight of it to rest onto the pillow completely. And what there is a gentle kind of opening in the lower back and lengthening of the spine, but nothing too strong. It takes some of the weight out of the knees and in the ankles, shifting it forward obviously onto the pillow itself. And from here, just turn your head sideways. Allow your eyes to close, elbows to point a little bit wider. And by doing so, the shoulders soften, the shoulder blades broaden away from each other. And here I invite you to come to slow, deep breath. So inhale, breathing into your upper back, seeing if you can feel the breath expand all the way down to your tailbone. Allow every inhalation to gently sweep through the space of the back body. Most of us have very tired, sore, stiff back muscles. Usually because we spend a lot of time sitting or because the core is a little bit weak. So in this space, the spine is fully supported, spacious and soft. And feel like the breaths that you breathe essentially come in from the inside to massage all these layers of muscle and tissue, to gently space them out and to allow everything to find rest. Allow your belly to be soft here. So the belly just flops out and hangs down to the floor. And allowing yourself to sink deeper with every breath that you take, especially on that exhalation, feeling yourself sink into the pose. If you've got your head turned to one side, you can now turn your head in the opposite direction, so the neck stretches evenly to both sides. We're going to take another 15 or so deep breaths here. And I invite you to consciously soften through your fingers. Consciously soften into your elbows, your toes, your knees, your head. And feel what space opens up in between these spaces as you soften them. Feeling how the body gently lengthens out, how muscles come to rest, how breath draws you inwards. So instead of needing to send your energy out to the world, you almost feel like you slowly let go of everything that you're holding on to, and you feel your energy just being drawn back to the center, almost like there's a gravity at the center of you that simply calls everything back. See if you can sense that that gravity resides in the chest, on the energetic heart space. And wherever your energy has been shared, so at work, with friends, with family, with future events and things you need to do, just for now, feel all your energy draw back into the center, so that all of you is here and present within the sanctuary of your breath. We'll take 5 more breaths here before moving on to the next few poses. Allow the 5 breaths to be deep and steadying. Really feeling into the center of your chest with every inhalation and softening around that space on every exhalation. On the next breath in, slowly push through your hands and lift yourself to sitting for a moment on your heels, shifting the pillow to the side, and then bringing hands down, shifting knees a little bit from left to right to release the hips. Maybe you want to extend one leg out, straighten it, followed by a second leg, straighten it. And then here we'll take a few rounds of cat and cow just to loosen up the spine. So on the inhalation, lift through your chin and your collarbones, rock it back to front for a moment. And then as you exhale, round into your back, and again, rock it backwards, forwards for a moment. From here, inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, cat pose. From here, we move ourselves onto our backs. It might be useful to have your 2 blocks handy at this point. Just put them close to the top of your mat. And then bring yourself to lying on your back with your knees bent and your feet on the ground. This position is known as constructive rest. Here, the psoas muscles are nice and soft, allowing the lower back a little bit more space. It takes the tension out of the lumbar curve and allows the lower back to be in a neutral position. Rest both your hands onto the lower belly, the space below the navel. And just take 3 or 4 deep breaths where you allow everything to release. And then from here we'll move into a nice gentle twist. So for your twist you might also want your bolster handy. And the bolster simply, or your pillow if you don't have a bolster, and this simply goes besides the legs. So we draw the knees up. As we exhale, we place the legs down on the pillow or the bolster, bringing the arm up, hand resting on the belly, and a very simple, gentle twist. Nothing too deep, nothing too strenuous for the lower back. But nonetheless, a nice release for the SI joints, bit of opening through the belly and the chest. And here you can simply close your eyes. We'll take a moment to stay here and allow the body to soften and find rest. And once again, we do that by creating sanctuary with our breath. So draw all your awareness to your nostrils, breathing in and out through the nose. And with every inhalation, you feel your belly rise. And with every exhalation, you feel the legs, the shoulder, the ears melt down to the floor. So there's almost the sense that your bones are draping themselves over the pillow and down to the earth. And we often think that the lines in the body are super straight. But actually there's a lot of mobility in the skeleton, a lot of connections that can soften and release when we consciously let go of tension. So it's almost like the bones are drifting in the space underneath your skin. And what we want to do here is allow the bones to sink and settle. Stay with the breath and let the breath be quite conscious, quite deliberate, but nonetheless still slow and steady. We'll take another 5 deep breaths on this side. Softening one last time into your fingertips, into your jaw and into your eyes. And then when you're ready, drawing the legs up, we switch the knees over to the other side. We don't pause too much in the center because we're not in such a deep stretch that we need to release. So bringing the knees over to the opposite side and feeling the circulation move through that left hip, the release through the left side of the body now. And almost like you're just continuing with the stretch, even though you've shifted it. Come back to the golden thread of your awareness that runs through the practice. So that awareness that is continuously softening, continuously compassionate to whatever experience arises within you. And just holding space for body, mind, and heart to rest. You might find that the mind is still very active or resistant to settling. That's okay. See if you can just bring your focus back to the breath. You might find sometimes that uncomfortable emotions arise. Allow yourself the space to just feel exactly the way you feel without needing to change it. So if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're disappointed, if you're tired, if you're joyful, if you're excited, can you create space for all of that to be there, but putting a little bit of a separation between yourself and what you feel, so that you're aware of the awareness, experiencing and observing what is moving through your heart. And knowing that that awareness, as much as it experiences everything that is happening, is not defined by it. So we have the sense that these things move through us, rather than defining who we are. And in that thought we are able to find sanctuary and wholeness, and create the space for everything to move through, to be seen, to be heard, and also to be honored. Allow the breath to keep moving into the fullness of your belly. And feeling how the shoulders, the hips and the legs sink into the ground every time that you exhale. We'll take another 3 deep breaths on this side, allowing complete softness in the ribs, the fingers, and the toes. And then when you're ready, slowly draw the knees to center, place the feet on the ground, and just make space for both the hands to come down to the mat for a moment besides your hips. Keep the feet wide, drop the knees together, and just feel how your lower back is able to rest on the floor comfortably. And then from here, we'll get ready for our next stretch. So maybe you want to sit up just to arrange your blocks. First block goes down flat. If you don't have a block, you can also use a book wrapped in a towel. And second block goes at like a 45-degree slant or angle. And you want to make sure that it's quite sturdy, that it won't slip down. From here, the back goes onto the mat, and then where you have the crease between the neck and the skull, that area you kind of want to hook over so that the block is actively lifting the skull out of the occipital joint, and you can almost like hang your head on the block. So there's this feeling that the neck just gently lengthens out underneath it. From here, we'll gently just roll the head from side to side for about a minute. So just using the weight of the head hooked over the edge of the block, you gently roll from left to right and feel how that action very gently massages the connections that keep the head upright. Feel how the spine anchors itself onto the skull here, and essentially how the skull anchors into the spine, and gently softening out that space that very often carries a lot of tension. If it feels good in one particular spot, you can kind of stay there and just move it around and to release. And the idea here is not about doing it right or wrong, but how do I take care of my body? How do I take care of my aches and my pains and my tight spaces so that I can feel better after I've given energy and attention to myself? Good. For a moment again, just allow yourself to come to the center. Release your neck, see if it feels a bit taller in that space. And just take 2-3 deep breaths, feeling how stimulating these areas tingles its way all over the skull, into the forehead and down the neck as well. And then slowly we release by lifting the head, moving the blocks, and we get ready to move ourselves over to the wall. So bringing yourself up, now is a good time to shift your mat to the wall. And you simply bring your mat all the way up to the wall. You can take your blanket and fold it in the half again, so that you have a little bit of padding under the hips and in the lower back. So maybe don't place it against the wall directly. And then we sit with one shoulder facing the wall. Move yourself towards the edge of your mat and then roll the hips so that they're back into the center, and then stretch the legs up and out. From here you can bend through the knees, kind of scoot yourself closer, and if keeping the legs straight feels like too much, you can always bend the knees as well. This obviously stretches the backs of the legs and the whole back body, but the inversion is the most important part, so feel free to bend. You can either let the feet rest together in the center, or you can take them wider and let the toes turn out. Hands rest over the hip bones, fingers gently nestled on the lower abdomen below the navel. And we'll stay here in legs up the wall for a while. The effect of this pose is to slow the heart rate down, to lower your blood pressure, and to steady the breath. But it also really helps to come into Dantian breathing here as a way of adding a little bit more relaxation into the body by stimulating the vagus and the phrenic nerve. And cumulatively, all of this has the effect of bringing the heart back to coherence. So fingertips resting, and seeing if you can breathe deep breaths into your lower abdomen. So you feel your collarbones, your ribs, and then lastly the belly or the navel rise as you inhale. And then as you exhale, slowly letting all the air out through the nose. So this lower belly area is known as the Dantian. as you breathe, you want to feel that this Dantian area, which is known as the reserve of your life force or the sea of chi, is slowly replenished. So you can either visualize a little flame flickering in that space and feeling how every inhalation makes that flame burn a little bit brighter. See if you can notice how your heart responds to the inversion, to the breath. And then once everything begins to feel a little bit more settled, see if you can bring yourself to a space of gratitude and compassion. If gratitude feels really big, maybe start with appreciation for this moment. Simple appreciation for the breath moving in and out of your nose and the quiet calm that you feel in this space. And then whatever arises in this moment with the breath, allow yourself to extend deep compassion for all that is. So everything that doesn't necessarily feel right or comfortable, everything that feels a little maybe bit of out of balance, just allow yourself to approach all of it with compassion rather than judgment. Know that coming back to sanctuary is only step one. It does not mean that you have failed or have retreated from where you want to be. It simply means that you are here to nurture your energy, to take yourself to a place of connection so that you can continue from a place of strength. So find that perspective of appreciation, compassion, and holding in mind the importance of being to find this space of quiet, the space of connection within, and knowing the importance of finding sanctuary for yourself. From here, you're welcome to stay in this legs up the wall posture a little bit longer. If you'd like to continue into Yoga Nidra, I would just recommend that you space yourself out on the mat. Maybe put some support behind the knees and the head as you go. And remember that you can do this practice every night before going to bed. It really is a great practice for getting us ready for sleep at the end of the day. Wishing you a wonderful rest of the week and wishing you a really deep sense of connection with self as we begin this journey.